and I'm going to tell you about how they basically grow a team of happy Perl developers who stick around for 5 to 10 years. Okay, so let's walk through how that happens. So first of all, who the heck am I? That's me, 9 to 5. And the rest of my time I'm working on at Geek Uni. So Audio is one of our big sponsors today. Thank you very much. Lovely place to work, in case anyone's wondering. And Geek Uni is where I'm training people in Perl. It's a hands-on online place where people do exercises to learn Perl. They get automated feedback from a tutor bot, and if they get stuck, then they get a code review from me. And my clients include Olio, you believe, Logically, who I'm interviewing today, Deriv, our biggest sponsor. Thank you very much, Deriv. Grant Street Group, who, anyone from Grant Street Group here? No, but they're big sponsors of Perl conferences too, and Booking.com, in case one's heard of them. So that's some of my clients. So what are the challenges? This is the first thing I'm going to be talking about, how to keep your team well-staffed and functional, given the small number of Perl developers there are on the market. Then I'm going to be interviewing Andrew Gordon, a director from Logically, on how they approach that. Then we're going to have a roundtable discussion, bouncing around the ideas that he presents and seeing if they're at all portable. Okay, and then I'll hand over to you people to bring up ideas and questions and so on. So what are the challenges of having a Perl team? Hands up if you studied Perl at uni as part of your degree. 3, 4, there are two hands like this, so I'd say 3 out of how many of us? 50, so not many. Therefore, there's a tiny market of Perl developers to choose to get applying for a job. And Perl is not, for some reason, it's not the most popular language and scary to people who know things like Java. So it's hard to find Perl developers. Then, once you've hired someone who probably knows just a tiny bit of Perl, if at all, it's a steep learning curve, and they'll be asking lots of questions to the rest of your staff. That has a significant impact on productivity. And then the big one, which is retention. So I got this from this publication. I mean, I don't know how much you can trust that as being an accurate representation. It could have been more San Francisco based, but basically developers, especially early in their career, don't stick around for very long. So you imagine you as a company spend all this time getting someone up to speed on Perl, and after their first ticket is closed, they're off. So these are the challenges. Logically, so let me, I'm sorry I couldn't get him to come here today. So we had a meeting online. I've recorded bits.
Hello, Perl Workshop in London, and thank you to all of you for your interest in the Perl Training Scholarship we've run, and thank you to Andrew Solomon from Geek Uni for arranging this and for presenting to all of you. Really appreciate it. G'day, my name's Andrew Gordon. I'm a director from Logically, a development house in Melbourne, Australia, where we largely use Perl. I've been working in this area over 25 years, and nearly all of that time we've largely used Perl in our development work. As I say, Logically is a development house. We build usually bespoke systems for our clients to address their data-focused problems. Typically, that means some form of data collection, data management, and analysis or reporting. And we've also built a platform that we use under the name Web Survey that is about doing that on a project basis. So quickly putting together a system to collect usually complex data quite quickly and give that back to the client.
Okay, next time. I think so. Summary, data collection, data analysis. Basically, the three directors were psychologists, and that's the data that they were collecting at the outset. But now they're doing all kinds of government university stuff. They started in '99, so it's their quarter century anniversary this year. Here's my cursor. Oops, sorry. Enough. Okay. So why do they learn? Why do they use Perl? Because they started in '99. That's good enough reason, and it's all about data collection rather than doing low-level stuff on operating systems. And because it's been around for a quarter of a century, the code is irreplaceable, right? There's just too much history in that code to change it. But that aside, they have for a long time been a big part of the Perl community in Melbourne, and to them it's very important to retain that. So that's why they use Perl and pushing forward with that. Next thing, how do they recruit Perl developers? They use scholarships. So
A bit about the Perl Training Scholarship. The reason we first did it was one of my business partners suggested at one point, why don't we try to find good candidates and train them instead of looking for already experienced good Perl programmers. And there's broader reasons for that than just about the company. It's not just about saying, you know, this is the best thing for the company. That's also good for the Perl community. It's also good to find people with the right expertise and train them into our way of thinking and into hopefully good programming practices. The scholarship itself we run, again, partly for the company. We find good candidates that way, partly also for the company, good PR. People go out there and program in the community and in Perl and know about us and hopefully have good things to say about us. We also think it's good for the Perl community because there's more and more people out there either aware of Perl or actually using it in their jobs as well. So that's the sort of duplicity of reasons for running the course, commercial as well as about the community of Perl people and the community of people around the company.
So Andrew and I have spoken a lot more about this than that little snippet, so let me fill you in a bit. Scholarship means that they're drawing on a pool of university graduates, so they advertise this scholarship as a job ad, okay? So think about it, it's not a job, but they post it in job search engines. You come to us, and for free, you get a week's Perl training. And they see that as good PR, logically, because then the Perl community is aware that it's out there, it's a Perl shop, it's hiring. It's good for the Perl community because lots of people come in, well, not lots, but some people come and do a scholarship with them. And even if they don't get the job, they become somewhat competent in Perl and expands the Perl community to some extent. And the reason they're targeting university graduates is because oldies like me don't sort of change into whatever their company wants as a person who works there, right? Whereas when people just straight out of university, they don't have assumptions about how the workplace works and what the processes should be, and they can just sort of mold them into the sort of employees they want. So that's the motivation. So how do they find these candidates?
We go out to the community and advertise. So sometimes we've done that with a lot of hard work by ringing universities, talking to computer science societies, talking to tutors, trying to get direct advertising to students. But nearly always we've also done it by just advertising in the career media and being honest, openly advertising, saying this is not just a job, this is an opportunity to get some free training, and in the subtext also writing, candidates who are successful may be offered a job.
So I think this is really helpful information that he's given us. And I'd like your thoughts on how relevant this is to London now. Thank you. So they started this 15 years ago, and they initiated with publicizing it through, when I say student societies, there are these groups, at least when I was there at university, who were interested in Perl or Linux or whatever, and they'd get together and they'd use those as an outlet for the advertisement for the scholarship. And uni lecturers who were keen to build the bridge between academia and the corporate world. However, it's not working anymore. Why is this? So in Melbourne anyway, and I think also in Sydney, I'd like to know your thoughts on London, these sorts of tech societies based around university seem to have dried up or become too fragmented because there are too many different technologies where people want to exchange ideas. It's all online. And maybe this is a Australian issue more than anywhere else. But unis in Australia, so one of Australia's biggest exports is education for universities, right? But it's an export. These people come to Australia, they learn, then they go back. And so the unis aren't focused on building this bridge between academia and the career. So that's a problem. May just be an Australian problem. Yeah, so that's why these two approaches didn't work. So the next thing is, as I said, they've got this scholarship advertisement in a job search engine. People looking for jobs, they get this scholarship. And I'll show you the scholarship. So it's very clear that it's not certain that you're applying for a job, but you'll be considered if you get through the scholarship well, and we'll discuss what well means a bit later. And it's marketing Perl with famous Perl trainers coming to give the course. And yeah, highlighting the word scholarship. So there's a certain motivation for students that even if they don't get the job, they have that on their CVs. So yeah, that's the job. How do I go back? So once you've got people applying for a scholarship, how do you decide?
We've had anywhere from about 20 through to 100 people apply. And when it's 100, we narrow them down partly by their academic record, but partly by their demonstrated interest in Perl. And we're not looking for people who already know Perl, but we're looking for people whose principles about programming clearly lean them towards being interested in Perl. When the actual application still only gets us down to, say, a short list of 15 or 20, then typically I'll ring people as well. When I ring them, the enthusiasm tends to be the assistance with the selection at that point. Those that are clearly enthusiastic and love the idea are more likely to get in. Some people, when I ring them, clearly all they're interested in is there a job and when do I start? And that tends to lean me away from them a little bit more because it's not realistic to have people be doing it solely for the sake of the job.
just to show that they're a bit plugged into the open source mindset. So once they've got those 20, then they call them on the phone, have a kind of an interview, but it's very much about understanding their personality and their motivation. Are they keen on the work itself and on learning about Perl, or do they just want to know when they start and how much they're going to get paid, which doesn't sort of rank them high in their priorities. And then they've got 10, okay, who they invite for the scholarship.
When we run the course, it's been a 5-day course. We've run it with Paul Fenwick from Perl Training Australia, and we've also run it with Damien Conway, both excellent Perl developers, Perl programmers. Damien Conway, you probably know his books, and they're both people who managed to run a very entertaining and educative training program. It's always been a 5-day course. We've always catered. We've usually had developers from Logically spend time with the students in the course, partly to observe them and partly for the students to see some, shall I say, real programmers, and they've enjoyed that as well. And we've been quite open about the fact that, yes, we're observing them and we're learning about them as well during the course.
So the things that I've learned through lots of to and fro with Logically is that in that 5-day period, they're trying to do as much understanding of the candidates to see whether they'd be a good fit, right? So there are metrics, and there are how to measure the metrics. So the metrics are, how inquisitive are they, right? And are they good at collaboration versus competition? You know which one they want, right? Do they understand what good programming is in terms of style of their code, their principles? And are they assertive with their own career direction? And we'll come back to that later, sorry. But what's evident is that once you get a job with this company, you're driving your own ship. So how do they assert, how do they measure these metrics? First is, in terms of the collaboration, they observe just the way, because they're all sitting around a table as they're learning Perl, and they watch how they work with each other, all the candidates. Then the staff go and sit with them, sit around the table, ask questions, just have a chat about it. Then they have lunch and things together. And yeah, it's very clear to the candidates that they're being measured as they sit there. So that, you know, it's not the most comfortable thing, but they seem to like it.
At the end of the course, I think the feedback that we have each time is very, very positive. Possibly the only slight negatives are those that are doing the course waiting to get a job, get to the end of the week and realise they're not one of the ones that will be offered a job.
And some pretty pictures of the scholarship in action. You might recognise some famous faces there. The teachers. Sorry? Yeah, true. And some pretty pictures from Indigenous Australia. So yeah. And so this is a summary of how they do their recruitment. So 100 applications, filtering through grades and open source, 20 interviews over the phone, personality, 10 scholarships, they come to the office and they see exactly how they work, and then 1 or 2 job offers. So onboarding, once you've hired these 2 people, how do you do it? So the first thing is they do it when they don't have a whole lot of work on their plate, because they know it's going to be a lot of work to get them ready. And their orientation is, it's slow. They hire them, and then they go and work in different departments, getting an understanding of the whole business. Then they allocate a sort of a mentor developer for each of the employees who they report to directly, but the graduate is chosen on the assumption that they go talking to people directly rather than just asking their boss. And part of that process of onboarding, they do Geek Uni training, and they're very happy with it. So as you can see, there are lots of different moving parts you need to put together for onboarding to work well, and that's why they do it when the business is quiet. Retention, okay, and this is the big one, because as you know, it's difficult if Perl developers walk out after the first year.
The retention's fantastic. We've had the shortest on one stage was 3 years. One other programmer stayed 10 years, left 3 or 4 years ago. And we have 3 current programmers who are candidates who did the Perl training course at some point and are still with us.
So from various phone calls, I've got a bit more information out of him. Their approach is to keep people interested and challenged, okay, not bored. And how do they do that? They let them be their own bosses, essentially. They control how to prioritize their work, what they want to work on. The only thing that ever gets in the way is what the client sort of screams about. The business is put forward as the community of the people who work there, and they're very flexible, trying to accommodate different religions, let public holidays shift to be aligned with different religions. They support neurodiversity. He's a psychologist, so they're keen on that. Asperger's apparently is common among developers. I don't know. That's what he says. And even people who want to move to different countries or states, they try and be very accommodating. So the only reason the people leave is if the business can't bend over backwards enough to make it good for them. And they usually give the business a whole lot more notice than the contract insists. So they're very happy.
You run with this and decide to run a similar scholarship for yourselves, then feel free to get in touch. I'm happy to answer any further questions. Feel free to email or call. And thank you again for all of you being interested in this. And thank you, Andrew Sullivan, for organising it. Cheers.
If you want to get in touch with Andrew, let me know and I'll put you in touch. However, now it's time to talk. So I'm inviting 3 people with extensive experience in the topics I've just discussed, and I want them to express their views. I wasn't going to tell them anything about this before. I just wanted to spring it on them, but I realized that that's just not fair. So they've both seen this stuff. They've all seen this stuff, and we can discuss opinions on how that might port to other companies. So please. So if you don't know who Julien is, then you need another coffee.
Hello, my name's Julien. I'm the organizer. No, so my name's Julien. I work for Olio, where I run the team of junior developers. We, at the moment, I think, have gone through a total of 9 junior developers that we've trained in Perl. From those 9, 2 in total have left, but everyone else is still there. Several of them are in this room. One is in the stage.
That's Jordan.
Hello, so I'm Jordan. I joined Olio as a junior developer in July after I graduated from the University of Nottingham. So I'm extremely new to Perl, it's only 4 months, but yeah, after going through Geek Uni and stuff, it's looking all right.
Thank you. And
Hi,
Dave.
I'm Dave. I'm not very new to Perl. I've been running Perl training in various forms. Some of you may have been on some of my courses at various points. I've been doing it for about 25 years at this point.
Thank you very much. It's right, you guys hang on to it. Jordan, you're the first person I'm going to ask a question of. So you're just going through the three concepts you're putting across in that presentation: scholarship, onboarding, and retention. So starting with scholarship, Jordan, if you're just finishing uni, would it look interesting to you as a potential employee if you saw a scholarship like that on a job ad?
Yeah, I think it would. I think a lot of job ads nowadays, you have to put so much effort into them through so many different rounds of recruiting and assessment centers and stuff. And it feels like no matter how far you get through, unless you get the actual job at the end, you haven't really gotten anything that you can show out of it. You end up spending, assessment centers 24 hours, sometimes even longer. So having the scholarship where even if you don't get the job out of it at the end, where you can spend all of that time and then still show that to other employers that you've done the Perl training, I think that that's quite a useful thing.
Thank you. And Julien, on the other end of that stick, would you think that's a good idea? And if so, why or why not?
So I think it really depends on your market and on the kind of people you want and on what kind of business you run and how much money you have in your business. I guess, so what we're doing is not unlike this in a way. Like the final stage of our interview process has an element where the candidates do a 3-hour pair programming session with me. Used to be they would come to the office and they would do a whole day in the office because I would give them a chance to show, like to try what it's like to work as a software developer, because most new people, they've never worked, and certainly not in an office as a software developer. So I always wanted to make sure that they get a chance to know whether they like it or not. And then they can say, actually, this was great, but I didn't enjoy it. Thanks. No thanks. However, seeing this now with remote is like, what they get out of it is they get a lot of like hands-on mentoring, one-to-one mentoring, which works really well. So I think doing this, if you have the budget, sure, why not? But it's going to cost you a lot of money. Like their hiring process alone, and obviously my company makes hiring software, so I know a thing or two about hiring processes. Like talking to so many candidates, doing 20 phone interviews, that's several days of your recruiter's time. That's a lot of work to put in. And then you have like a whole week of 1 or 2 people, or you get someone external and pay them. That's like thousands of pounds they're investing into this for 1 or 2 candidates. If they're obviously desperate and the market otherwise doesn't give them anyone, that's great. I don't think it would work for our company because at the end of the day, we need to make money, but I could think that for larger companies, this would definitely work in the UK, but they would be flooded with applicants, I think.
In spite of it being Perl, that's good news.
Oh yeah, because no one cares what language they do anymore. So I think, Jordan, this is probably true for you. When you applied, you didn't even know Perl was a language.
No, never done it before.
Yeah, so 10 years ago when we were hiring like junior people, and I always hire trainees, not juniors, so very specifically people who have no work experience, because our experience has been 10 years ago when they have like a year of work experience, they're going to be like, Perl. But now they come out of uni and they don't even know Perl as a language. So they go like, oh, okay, I've never heard of this. Yeah, whatever. Like, I've written 400 applications. I'll take your job. I learned this Perl language. That's cool.
This is very good news for Perl. Thank you. I'm feeling happy. So anyway, moving on, onboarding. Dave, so back to the onboarding process, you've just hired someone, they don't know Perl. What should be trained in-house and what do you think should be outsourced, could be outsourced?
It's been a long time since I was involved in onboarding. I guess it depends very much on the in-house Perl team. I think the last time I did it, the last time I was heavily involved in onboarding, we were working together at Net-a-Porter, and they had a graduate program where they would bring in a team of, about 5 graduates would join each year, and they would spend some time in the Perl team and some time in some of the other teams, and that was all done in house. But that was because that was a very strong Perl team. There was lots of very skilled Perl programmers working there, so they were able to do a lot of that work. I think in a smaller company where you just can't, to some extent, you can't spare the time because stuff needs to carry on going on. And if you've only got a Perl team that's 4 people and you've got 2 new people joining it, then the idea of giving up all of that time to train them makes it look like a very good idea to get somebody in from the outside to handle that, or at least handle part of that.
Yeah, okay. And Julien, what's your view on this? What's to be done in-house?
Well, so I think, again, it depends on who you're hiring. So I think if you get people who know how to develop software, then getting someone external in to do a 1-week, 2-week class in Perl, and also we use Geek Uni as well, but that's just one of the tools we use, because the people that I hire, they have no experience. Whatever language they've learned in uni, and no offense, Jordan, but whatever you've learned in uni, we will supersede within the first 3 months. And that's probably the experience you've had. But it's not just about learning a language. So, like, I don't think you can have a person, like a graduate, doesn't know how to program. They know how to write some code, but they don't know how to be a developer. Like, they are not a developer yet. So there's more than teaching them the syntax of a programming language. So you need to also actually, we can get rid of that. It's really annoying.
Sorry.
Just pull the plug.
Oops.
Yeah, just what was I, like that's worse. That's worse.
You want him back?
Press the button. Yeah, I think it really depends. Like, I think just doing a Perl class isn't enough. There's so much more. They have to know how to write commit messages. They have to know how to write code, and have to know the business logic. Someone external is great at doing the Perl. Absolutely. That external person can be Dave doing a 2-week class from the ground up. And you can pay Dave to do that. Or it can be Andrew's company. And you can pay Andrew's company significantly less to do that, but it's remote in like a browser window. Both has like pros and cons. If you get Dave, you have like full hands-on training for 2 weeks. If you get Andrew, it's like a month or 2 of they do it a little bit on the side, and it's like an interactive learning Perl book. Both are great. But I think neither of them on their own are enough to really onboard someone. That's my thoughts.
Thank you.
Just something else that I just thinking through what I was saying before about. So you can be working at a company that's got a really strong Perl team that know their stuff really well, but knowing a programming language really well is not the same skill as being able to teach that programming language. And so sometimes having an external trainer come in, they have that extra skill which your team might not have.
Yep. Moving on, retention. Okay, so logically lets developers manage their own work and priorities. That to me was a big sort of eye-opener. Apart from the clients jumping in and saying, I need this now. So, and given that they have a very high retention rate, people stick around for 5 to 10 years on average. So as an early career developer, how do you feel about it if that were your job spec?
Being able to manage your own work feels both really great and really daunting straight out of university. Obviously at uni you're managing all of your own projects and dissertations and everything like that. So it's something that you've got the time management skills for, but you don't really know how to apply that in a business setting because you don't really know what it is that the companies are working towards or what they're looking for, because you're just used to getting given like a acceptance criteria or just like modules telling you what they explicitly want rather than clients or bosses or whatever who at the best of times can be a little bit vague. It's all right. So yeah, it's a little bit of a strange blend in that regard. And then in regards to the retention, I think that it's quite refreshing in a way to see a graduate program telling you that you're expected to be able to stay around for a while. You know, I feel like there's so many jobs where you're expected to stay for a couple of years and then go somewhere else to move up. So it's quite a nice change for the status quo, I feel, as a graduate. You know, it feels like everything's moving so fast. So I think it's quite nice to be able to know that you can get somewhere and learn and sort of really become part of a team and be able to make a difference in that way.
That's a great observation. Thank you. Julian, and what would be your view on that?
I think we do the same thing mostly. It's just we express it differently. So I would argue that you have the freedom to work on what you want out of the pool of tickets I give you at first, and then later on, maybe also now, you have the freedom to say, I want to go front end or back end, or I want to try some AWS, and we will find you that work. And I think that's something I've probably highlighted as well in the interview process.
Okay, so we just learned about Folio as a good place to work.
Also, in terms of the retention, oh, he's already shaking his head. So Matthew over there, he was the first we hired as a trainee. You can wave. And he's been with us for over 6 years now, and he's like grown into, I'd say we're very much nearing the senior now, I think. Like, ooh, no, I think you do. But he's like
a junior. That's a compliment, dude.
He's gone very far, and he's gone very broad in terms of what he's working on. And a lot of this is picking, I think, what you want to work on as well, isn't it? So this stuff works, like that kind of retention and getting people to do what they want, that works.
Dave?
Yes.
You've seen a lot of companies. How affordable do you think this is?
Well, from the point of view that, a company exists to make money. So as on top of the technical knowledge of programming, the longer that you are in the company, the more you know about the underlying business of the company. You understand the depths of the product, you understand the code base. So doing whatever you can to keep people for as long as possible has to be a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All my questions have been answered. I'm sorry we don't have time to ask you questions, but we'll be here.
Get them to ask us questions.
Right?
Or to ask us, yeah.
Yes.
So if you have more questions to any of us, come and find us. If you have questions to Andrew, come and find him. Buy his product, hire Dave, come and work for me.
Don't poach him.
Yeah, yes, don't poach him.
Thank you very much. If you want to get in touch, andrew@geekuni.com. Otherwise, see you around. Thank you.
Yeah.